If you're hoping to get a head start on scouting some future NBA talent, you're in the right place. Kiyan Anthony certainly knows what being an NBA superstar looks like, having seen it up close and personal with his father Carmelo, and now he's taking his first steps towards following a similar trajectory himself. His performances for the Long Island Lutheran Crusaders have drawn the attention of many NBA scouts from across the country, and no game summed up his quality more than a stunning upset win over IMG. This is the night that Kiyan Anthony showed IMG Academy who's boss. Standing at 6'5", 225 pounds as an 18-year-old, it's clear that Kiyan Anthony comes from strong basketball bloodlines. His father knows a thing or two about playing the sport, having notched himself 10 NBA All-Star selections across a superb 2-decade-long career. Carmelo averaged 22.5 points per game while lining up for teams such as the Nuggets, Knicks, and Lakers among others, which makes him a very handy mentor for a young Kiyan. It took until year 16 in the NBA for Carmelo to post under 20 points per game in a season, and if Kiyan has managed to inherit any of that remarkable skill set, he'll be laughing his way to the bank. Kiyan is a shooting guard who has picked up a 4-star rating from 247 Sports, known for being an aggressive shot taker who isn't afraid to go for glory, even when the odds are stacked against him. This can dampen his overall percentages, but don't be fooled. This kid has got a bag full of moves to rely on, which he can execute very well. Pull-ups, step-backs, and floaters are all delivered with touch, and he can find the target from deep as well. Add in some nifty footwork, good handling, and better passing than he gets credit for, and you have a very enticing young basketball prospect. He's had offers from many high-profile programs, but there was only ever going to be one college to get his commitment. That is, of course, Syracuse, where his dad became a star back in 2002 and 2003. But before he dons the orange, there was one more season of high school ball to play. The Long Island Lutheran Crusaders got off to a tough start early in the year, not helped by the fact that Anthony missed all of November and December due to injury. The first game of his senior season came against Veritas Academy on January 10th, 2025, and the team has not lost since. Talk about making an impact. He was awarded game MVP honors for a strong outing against AZ Compass Prep on January 19th, thanks to his game-high 17 points, and remained on a tear ever since. The Crusaders were rolling, having won 14 straight, but a tough date with IMG Academy lingered as a potential landmine to upset the momentum. IMG Academy, based in Florida, is a top-tier basketball program. Their coaches expect wins, and their players expect top D1 offers when they're done with high school, competing against some of the very best high school teams in the nation. In 2023 alone, 3 IMG Academy players were drafted in the first round. Jarris Walker, 8th overall, Jet Howard, 11th overall, and Keontae George, 16th overall. The National High School powerhouse has also developed players like Anthony Simons, Zach Edey, Josh Green, and many more. So yeah, they know what they're doing. Headlining the IMG starting 5 was Darius A. Cuff Jr., a very exciting 5-star point guard who's ranked 5th on the ESPN 100. Up next, the Ascenders have Sadiq White, a 4-star recruit who ranks 29th on the ESPN Top 100, and Kareem Stagg, a 4-star forward who landed 84th on the Top 100. Meanwhile, the Long Island Lutheran Crusaders were fielding some exciting young talent of their own, with Kiyan Anthony finding his spot at 32nd on the ESPN Top 100, followed by Caden Mingo and Nigel James, who are ranked 40th and 54th respectively. One thing's for sure, there was plenty of talent on the court for this high-profile clash, and you bet the scouts were keeping a close eye. To add even more pressure, Long Island Lutheran pegged this date with the vaunted IMG Academy as their senior night celebration. So, with the gymnasium full of intrigued fans, how did they perform? Senior night got off to the best possible start, when Caden Mingo sneakily found Nico Onyekwere just outside the arc, with plenty of time to steady himself and fire in the opening 3-point score for the Lutheran Crusaders. Next up, it was time for Kiyan Anthony to show off his silky feet, easily bypassing an attempted block and finding the bucket for 2. Barely a minute down, and the Crusaders were enjoying a 5-0 lead. Things couldn't have been going much better. Not wanting to miss out on the action, IMG Academy's Darius A. Cuff Jr. began to assert his dominance, first firing in a 2-point jumper to open the scoring for the Ascenders. He then showed off his speed to scale the full length of the court before throttling down and notching another jumper to reduce the deficit to 1. IMG continued to build on this momentum, and it would be them who took a 17-14 lead into the first break, with Jamal Jones Jr. scoring a 3-pointer with under 20 seconds left on the clock. They certainly looked threatening, extending their lead to 21-16 early in the second, but you can't keep these Crusaders down for long. And who do the Long Island Island Lutherans look to when they need a spark? Kiyan Anthony. Receiving the ball on the logo, Anthony showed off his athleticism, getting into the paint in a heartbeat and reaching for the layup. The block from the 6'7" stag was successful, but a whistle from the ref sent Anthony to the free throw line. The youngster hit the target, and the scores were tied at 21 apiece. By now, both teams' star players were showing out. Darius Acuff and Kiyan Anthony were always light on their feet, and if they weren't taking aim themselves, they were opening up opportunities for their teammates, who kept the scoreboard ticking over. And when Anthony was fouled on a three-point attempt, giving him 3 free throws, you bet he found the bucket on all 3 to edge his team back in front. The hand was officially now hot for the Crusaders' top player, who extended the lead to 5 with a three-pointer with 3 minutes to go in the second quarter. But IMG wasn't going away easily. You'd expect nothing less from a national powerhouse after all. Who else but Acuff broke the scoring drought for the Ascenders, showing off his confidence on a very deep two-pointer before IMG found 4 more points by racing directly through the middle of the Crusaders' defense on back-to-back plays to set up easy dunks. After another three-pointer from Darius Acuff, it was the Ascenders who enjoyed a 34-32 lead at the halftime break. The back-and-forth fun continued into the third quarter, with neither team allowing the other to escape. The Mingo brothers both added some points to their tallies before Kiyan Anthony showed off his physicality to muscle into the paint and add 2 more of his own. Of course, IMG knew exactly how to respond, and both teams found themselves tied up once again at the conclusion of the third at 52 apiece. A sweet jumper from Kiyan drew first blood in the fourth, backed up by a fantastic display of athleticism from Nigel James to extend the lead to 4. Were the plucky underdogs beginning to exert their will? Despite some good play from IMG's Kareem Stagg, Long Island Lutheran managed to keep their noses in front throughout most of the fourth quarter, helped by a well-worked three-pointer from Dylan Mingo and an emphatic dunk by Nigel James. Crunch time was fast approaching, and these Crusaders were absolutely hitting their stride. Kiyan Anthony helped our Nico Anyakwere a highlight reel play with a perfectly timed alley-oop before the energetic Nigel James found his way into the paint again for another layup. That guy can move, and his 2 points gave Long Island Lutheran their biggest lead of the day, 65 points to 59, with just 3 minutes remaining. Unfortunately for the Crusaders, but fortunately for the neutrals watching, it was at this point that Long Island Lutheran went cold. In the final 3 minutes, their shots were no longer hitting the mark, and in the meantime, IMG Academy were piling on the pressure. 3 points from Trey Beamer cut the lead in half. Then, IMG's main man did what he does best and pulled his team level with a clutch three-pointer with just over a minute remaining. The breathless encounter had kept people on the edge of their seats all game long, and now the teams were all square heading into the final minute. They stayed level for almost the entire minute before Long Island Lutheran got the benefit of having the final possession. Caden Mingo took his time to plot out his plan, letting the seconds tick by before arrowing into the paint. IMG crashed in to block his route to the game-winning layup, only to see young Caden flip the ball out to his brother Dylan. Standing a yard outside the arc, Dylan Mingo took aim and floated the ball perfectly into the bucket, giving the Crusaders a 3-point lead with just 1 second left on the clock and sending the gymnasium wild. IMG had no chance of finding an answer to that stunner from the Mingo brothers, who were clutch in the dying seconds, confirming the thrilling upset victory over a national high school powerhouse. The 68-65 win went down to the final play of the game, and all of Long Island Lutheran's players contributed in the win. Kiyan Anthony led the way with 15 points, closely followed by the game winner Dylan Mingo with 14, Nigel James with 13, and Caden Mingo with 10. Nico Anyakwere had 7 points of his own, but more importantly, led all players with 9 rebounds. For IMG, Darius Acuff Jr. was superb, leading all players with 21 points and is definitely a name to watch. But on this day, he couldn't get one over on Long Island Lutheran. That court was full of exciting young players to keep an eye on as they finish up their high school careers and transition into college, and I think it's fair to say that we will be seeing plenty of them thrive in the spotlight. None more so than Kiyan Anthony, a youngster with NBA star power in his blood and plenty of talent on the court. But which of these players stood out the most to you? Let us know in the comments.